My home was a green paradise of trees and animals, but the greed for money of people not from the territory destroyed everything. In our communities, the women them are guardians of the nature. The forests provide us with nourishment and a connection to motherland. The colonos strip us of our lands and even violently move out entire communities, limiting access to our lands and forests and destroying our ways of life. In the presence of the colonos, we feel powerless, unprotected, and fearful, them taking away our home right in front of our eyes. We have witnessed how the Nicaraguan state dismantled our communal governments, creating parallel governments of communal and territorial authorities, disrespecting the decisions made in community assemblies during the election of our authorities, violating what the Autonomy Law, Law 28, and the Demarcation and Titling Law, Law 445 says. The parallel authorities permit the destruction of the forests and illegal sales of our lands. No one seems to be protecting our rights. The damage are severe. Violence, land removal, loss of cultural identity, diseases, and food crisis in our communities. The insecurity we experience is very hard, is inhuman. Even so, we continue to help one another. We meet in the few safe spaces we still have. We discuss our situation and share the little we have. The invasions affect both of our territory and our bodies. Our lives, relationships, and emotions are being harmed by so much violence.
Some of us have months and even years that we can't go fishing together or farm on our own land. The road to the river has become dangerous because the colonos are there, exploring our lands, threatening us, and cutting down the trees. Even the river water has become contaminated because they pour poison into the water to catch and extract everything.
Since the colonials come in our land, a lot of saloons open in the community, which are full of drunk men, who also take the girls by forces, and no one does anything to stop this serious violence. This situation is getting worse and worse.
The gold rush brought violence, vice, and death to our community. Before, communal governments were the defenders of our rights. Now some of them are the ones who threaten us for responding to political party interests. We were a community, united by history and tradition. The violence, a product of our invasion, has robbed us of that peace. We used to walk freely and safely, but now there are many colonos around our communities and forests. Also, they have brought sickness that were not present in our community. High blood pressure and diabetes issues are affecting all of us due to concern about our future. Because of the impact on our sons and daughters, and because we are at risk of losing our land and peace. But it's for them, for their future, that we cannot stay like this. We must come together again as a community. Let us never forget that we have laws that protect us, both Law 28 and Law 445. We must demand that the government respect the rights of our communities. For instance, that when concessions are considered, the communities should be consulted for approval. But also that communities have their power to say no if it doesn't benefit them or if it affects their ways of life.
We are determined to speak out about what we experience and to present evidence of these violations. We cannot remain silent in the face of injustice and the violations of our rights.
We will no longer allow impunity to prevail. We will take our voice to the international level to look for justice, as our own state and regional authorities are the main violators of our rights. Our resilience and courage are acts of resistance. Just as standing firm and united, we are not only fighting for ourselves and our future generations, but also for all the voices that are no longer here.
Uncontrolled deforestation is taking away our sources of water, our medicinal plants, driving away the animals, and destroying everything we know and we need to live in health and peace. We know that corruption and economic interest over our territories at all levels of government are obstacles to respecting our communal rights. But together, we will find ways to resist and demand transparency. We must continue to demand that the laws that protect us are respected. These are our territories, and we are going to defend them, organized, taking care of each other, and trusting in one another. They have no right to come in without our approval. They threaten us, they assault us with their weapons, they are cornering us. In the face of all these violations, we must document evidence. We must not forget all this injustice and teach the next generations to continue the resistance in the fight. Impunity will not prevail. We will expose the violence and corruption we face in our territories and demand justice. Forced displacement separates us from our communities and places us in risky situations. Our families and lives are in danger. It's heartbreaking to see the numbers of families displaced by the violence caused by armed colonials. We are suffering greatly. This is happening all over the Caribbean coast. Unlike us, there are other women from different ethnicities experiencing these forms of violence.
We must unite our voices.
We have decided to tell our story to the world, demand justice, and shed light on the human rights violations affecting our communities and lives, especially as women.
We will not allow future generations to suffer like us. It is time for the violence to stop and justice to be done.
We find ourselves exposed to human rights violations. Our local and regional governments, along with the Nicaraguan states, are involved in corrupt structures. Coexistence with the colonials is increasing inequality and violence against us. We will not allow our lives and rights to continue to be violated.
Prior, free, and informed consultation is our shield to prevent decisions from being made without our consent, along with communities' assemblies to choose our legitimate authorities. Let us not allow ourselves to be used. We must be guardians of our heritage and ancestral legacy. Let us remember that our territory have legal protection, and it is our duty to ensure that they are respected and upheld.
We call upon the regional councils and all competent authorities to take on and fulfill their responsibilities in the protection of our rights. We share our struggles. To the international community, civil society, and community members in our region, we say that this struggle belongs to all of us. Together, we can achieve real changes. Women are leading the fight for our territories. Some of us are in community assemblies and organizations in our territories, demanding changes and justice.
The resistance and struggle of the women of the Caribbean coast of Nicaragua will not cease until all efforts are united for justice, the preservation of motherland according to our customs, the guarantee of prior, free, and informed consultation in our territories, as well as a genuine land demarcation process that allow us to live safely and according to our own cosmovision.
Our history and collective efforts are also pillars of resistance.
We appreciate the voices of the Indigenous and Afro-descendant women who share their stories to make visible the reality of the Caribbean coast of Nicaragua.